Well, more than 2 million kids will become eligible for a Pfizer jab next month after Australia's medical regulator approved the vaccine for 5 to 11-year-olds. Joining me live now, the Vice President of the AMA, Dr Chris Moy. Doctor, good morning to you. Good news.
Yeah, that's great news for parents who've probably been waiting for this. It's something that, we've seen some really great results from overseas, which show that the vaccines for this age group are safe, but also very effective. And really also what we're seeing, obviously, in the eastern states is that most of the outbreaks are actually occurring in schools. So I think for parents, this will be a very reassuring thing during the school holidays coming into next year.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there is some element of vaccine hesitancy, although the high vaccination rates in Australia suggest that it's only very minor. Would you be expecting much of that when it comes to, parents vaccinating their kids?
Oh, I think there will still be some. I mean, kids are incredibly precious, so to provide the information to parents is going to be extremely important. And I think one of the biggest things is going to be the consenting aspect for children, particularly possibly with parents with different points of view about the vaccination program. So we're going to have to get through that, and probably in this case, and this is one of the things that's been in the planning for this, is that possibly the general practices are going to be far more important for this, because at least they'll have some knowledge of the family situation and be familiar with the parents, and will also be reassuring for the children. So that will be very central to the vaccination program, possibly slightly more than the school-based programs and also the mass vaccination clinics.
When it comes to Omicron, Doctor, has your view of that changed at all now that we've had a little more time?
Oh, look, so far the information is still very patchy. I mean, all we're seeing is that it looks very infectious and it can reinfect people that have had Delta before. With respect to the severity, so far there aren't any signals that are worrying at this moment in time, which is great. On the other hand, it does seem to be able to evade the vaccines, although it is likely that vaccines will still be able to protect you against severe disease. We really need to know those three bits of information, and they're the equation that has to be really very firm in people's minds before we make sort of final decisions about what to do about it in the future.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to find out later on today what's going to happen with our international borders when it comes to international students and skilled migrants as well. Do you think before that announcement comes that pause should be extended, or given the fact now that we know that Omicron, or we believe that Omicron is not as bad as Delta, we could probably lift that pause? What's your view?
Well, again, the signals have been good so far, but we don't know that. The problem is that, I mean, we know that it looks, as I said, more infectious, but the problem is that, for example, even if it's half as dangerous, say, as Delta, say, if it turns out, and at the moment that we're not sure about that, and it can evade our vaccines, it could actually produce a really high spike in infections, and then you're still in trouble as far as your hospitals are concerned, you see, because you'll get a very acute, because it's spreading much more quickly, a lot more people infected at the same time. So but
hospitalisations, just on that point, hospitalisations are nowhere near what the original fears were, even before Omicron.
Oh, and that's the good news. And that's why, as I said, the signals have not been bad so far. But you've got to remember also that most of these figures have come from Southern Africa, where the population is quite different. It's a younger population. Many of them have had Delta before. So we're not sure how that compares to Australia. And we're not sure how that compares against Australia, you see. So, I mean, look, I still feel optimistic about our vaccinations and the fact that they will protect against severe disease. And so that's an extra reason to get vaccinated. But I think there's still enough unknowns not to be making any really hard calls about Omicron not being a threat.
Yeah. Doctor, good to see you. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, pleasure.
We'll talk to you soon.